I'm so excited for our conversation today. Thank you so much for joining. One thing that's really cool about entrepreneurship is that you kind of get to be your own boss and do your own things. And before we get started,
Mhm.
I just want to talk about your boat. And it's really, really cool because I see you on LinkedIn and there you are having meetings on your boat. I mean, you don't get to do that in regular jobs, right?
No, I don't think there'd be too many bosses that would give that much flexibility and freedom. So that's a pretty good feeling. My wife wonders whether I do too many posts on the boat, and I keep telling her I need to do that so my accountant will see that and will, eventually
Right.
let me, write that off as a work expense.
Yeah.
Um, but I think. One of the things of being an entrepreneur, right, is just really about having that opportunity to have the freedom and flexibility. I mean, we work hard,
Yeah.
right? We put in long
Oh,
hours,
yeah.
longer hours than maybe we would if we had we're working for someone else. But it's you've got to live, right? It's all about experiences. It's
Yeah.
all about creating better experiences for ourselves and our family and our loved ones, and
Yeah.
let's have some fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. All right. So before we get into all of that stuff too, can you just maybe give the audience a quick overview of who you are and the work that you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Earl Hoeg. I'm the president of PeopleFirst, and that's what we do. We help busy managers put their people first. It's really, for me, it's all about starting with self-awareness. It's about helping individuals understand themselves, like how they show up when they're not trying to show up, and what comes most easily to them. But more importantly, appreciating and valuing that not everyone is like them, and then figure out how to adapt and connect so that really everybody can bring their best selves to life and to work. And I put it in that order, that it's about life first, and then work.
That's really interesting because someone that was on my podcast just last week, he asked me a question about work-life balance, and it was an interesting conversation because I was like, it's different for different people. But you said it right there first, is it's about life though, and I
Yeah.
think for everyone, you gotta have a really good life first,
Yeah.
and then the work kind of flows from there. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it starts with us too, right? We have to take care of ourselves first before we
Yeah.
take care of everyone. I mean, the cliche of putting on your own oxygen mask
Right.
first is, it's a cliche for a
For a
reason.
reason, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you've had like over 30 years of experience working in the public sector, and is being in leadership and those types of roles, is that something that you've kind of gravitated towards, or is it something that just kind of fell into place and then you just kind of went on and grew from there?
I mean, I feel very fortunate. I had a very, very enjoyable, rewarding career as a public servant. 33 years as a public servant. I sometimes say
That's
that
crazy.
I think I was an entrepreneur though, trapped in a public servant's body for 33 years, and
Yeah.
I was unleashed about 3 years ago. But I think I'm kind of an accidental leader. Like, I think I'm like everyone else, right? I didn't say, hey, give me, performance reviews and conflict management to deal with. I was looking for, just a promotion. I was looking for more challenge. And
Mm.
so I took on a leadership role early in my career. I'd been managing people of my 33-year career, I think I managed people for 27 of them, from a
Yeah.
frontline supervisor to, managing the head of corporate real estate at ESDC, Service Canada. But I didn't search that out, but I quickly learned that, like, I liked getting results through other people. Like, you have to make that transition as a leader. You have to, the light bulb has to go on and go, okay, I'm no longer the individual contributor. I'm now responsible for delivering results through others.
Right. Like
And
you're not the one doing the work, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's challenging as a middle manager or a supervisor. Your bosses are still asking you to deliver stuff. So it is a challenge, but if you can make kind of that mental shift to, okay, I need to get my kicks from delivering results through others now, as opposed to, just being responsible for it
Right.
myself.
Was there some moment or like a mentor or something that made you have that switch? Like what
Oh,
did
yeah.
make you think that? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, and it was a journey for sure. I remember my first, frontline supervisory job. I was struggling. Like, I was like hitting a wall. I'd taken a role in an office that was known for having some challenges, and I was struggling. And a mentor of mine, Peter Finley, shared this quote with me. It's a Theodore Roosevelt quote, but I'll always attribute it to Peter Finley. And it's that, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I want to say that again.
Mm,
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
okay.
And so I I think that's when I kind of got it. I mean, Peter always had a way of, mentors in general. I recommend anyone like seek out a mentor, get that other perspective. But he had a way of just like getting me out of my head and just seeing it from others' perspective. And I had been trying to prove myself that I had earned that job, that I was, that I was the best technical supervisor. I was in a technical role, and it's like, okay, I know this stuff, and I was trying to prove myself that I'd earned this role,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to stop doing that. I had to start thinking about my people. I had to put my people first,
Right.
and really, focus on what was it that they needed to bring their best selves to the job every day. How could I support them in delivering what the organization was expecting us to deliver, and employing what leadership theory calls individualized consideration, right? Treating
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that there's no one size fits all, that I needed to adapt and connect differently with all the members of my team. But yeah, so Peter's quote has stuck with me. It shaped
Yeah.
my leadership philosophy, from the beginning.
Can you give me maybe a specific example of something that you've done, like using that principle of putting people first and then taking care of them, right? And showing them that you care. Like, what does that actually look like, on the day to day?
Well, first off, it's different for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, a practice that I put in place like early on in my career was, just I would do one-on-ones with really everyone on my team.
Yeah.
I'd get to know my managers. I have my regular kind of check-ins, and I would always use, this similar kind of questions like, how are you? But I wouldn't just let that pass, right? I'd
Right.
always make sure that no, how are you? And then the answer comes differently, right? So
Right.
it's about,
Like not just your wake up in the morning, hey, how's it
yeah,
going, Chuck? And then whatever.
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't even you
exactly.
don't even
Not even
listen for
not
the
even not
answer.
even listen to
Yeah.
the answer, right?
Yeah.
It's like digging a little deeper. And I was managing virtual teams for like 16 years of my career, and this was long before we had
Before
regular
it was a thing. Yeah,
Zoom calls.
yeah.
Well, we regular before we had regular Zoom, so
Yeah.
I'm
Probably had
having
to
I'm
go
having
on the
to
phone.
connect and adapt over the phone, right? And so
Yeah.
listening for the change in tone
Right.
when they ask that question the second time. But I think it is about recognizing everyone is different. It's about really living that, that I care, right? And letting them know you care. And I think that starts with, being sincere. It starts with being vulnerable. It starts with getting to know your team. And so where I started to go with the kind of the one-on-ones, excuse me, is that I would, even with my new teams, I would always meet with like almost every employee. I would try to meet with every employee. And it seemed a little, you know, I don't know, insincere at first. Like I'd set up 15 minutes. It was almost like speed dating.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
When I would go to a new office and I would meet a new team, because at some point I was leading a team of like, over 150 people. And so I couldn't,
Comes in
always
practical. You can't meet everyone
can't
for
meet
15 minutes
everybody.
every
And,
week. Yeah.
and so I would do these little, 15-minute just kind of meet and greet. And, I would always open with the same question. I still use it today when,
What's your opening question?
it's like who is, so who is Odum, right?
Yeah.
And let everyone take it wherever they want it to, right? And that gave me so much information. Just kind of leading with kind of curiosity, really again that caring and wanting to know, who they are, so that I could figure out, my job as a leader, how could I help them achieve, their goals, understand their values, and so we could deliver results, because that's why organizations exist, is to deliver results.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but how we do it matters, and that relationship piece is really critical.
That's really cool. I'm just thinking now back into my own career and all the jobs that I've had. And I don't think I've ever had any job where somebody would actually sit down and really kind of get to know me, know who I am, and kind of care about me and to propel me to do better work. So it must be pretty rare, I think, in the industry for people to have that type of attitude, with leadership. Because yeah, again, I don't know if
Yeah.
it is just me in my experience, but
I mean, I think we get super busy, and we focus on, the results, but we've got to start with those relationships. And so, I position it now, we run a small workshop for teams, and I call it, connection before content, right?
mm,
It's really just like it's a, you know, a 2 hour little session that really helps people understand, you know, who their colleagues are, how they show up. And it's kind of a philosophy that I use, right?
Yeah.
When I'm meeting with a new client, you know, if they have a particular, you know, focus, they want to get to the, you know, get to the results, or they want a proposal, you know, I always ask, do you have a little bit of time just to kind of get to know each other? Can we, you know, start with, you know, connection before content? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of our thing.
There's are sometimes those people that, you know, you can kind of sense that they don't want to have that coffee talk, or they don't want to have that connect. They're just straight into the business, like,
Yeah.
let's make a deal or whatever. And I guess you play off that, right? You kind of read them, and then
Yeah, absolutely.
you meet
Well,
them where they are.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to, again, it's individualized consideration. So you
Right.
have to, you know, respect that not everyone's, you know, personality preference is going to be the same as yours. And you've probably heard the, you know, the golden rule that we want to treat others the way we want to be treated.
Mm.
You know, I don't believe in that. I believe the rule should be the platinum rule, which is we want to treat others the way they want to be treated. And so
Interesting. I've never heard that.
it is about adapting what comes naturally to us to how we can bring the best out of the relationship and that situation with that person. And in order to do that, you need to know a little bit about yourself, like what, you know, how you show up naturally when you don't think you're showing up. And if you can have a tool and a system that helps you understand your colleagues,
Yeah.
and you know, even better if they've, you know, gone through a similar system and they have that shared understanding, that shared language about how we want to collaborate and how we want to work, because it really is about, it's about delivering results, but again, how we get those results matter, and it's always going to be, you know, through relationships and through our connections, and through people.
Speaking of people, now you're the president of PeopleFirst, and you talked about just now that you've done 33 years, you've had a successful career, but you're doing this new thing. Why are you doing this new thing? Is there like some kind of burning fire for you to doing this? Like, why are you doing this?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I stopped saying that I've retired. And sometimes I say I'm in. I borrow a term from a colleague of mine at West. She used this term, you know, preferment. So I'm in, you know, I'm in preferment now.
Okay. All
and
right.
I get to do what I prefer.
Yeah.
And you know, what I prefer is what I loved about all the jobs that I had in government. I had this. It was always this focus on, you know, helping my managers get better at leading their teams. That was, you know, I regulated the wireless industry early on in my career. I was, you know, the head of a training and learning organization. I managed corporate real estate in my last job, all the office space for Employment and Social Development Canada, all across, you know, 425 buildings, you know, 16.4 million square feet of space.
My goodness, that's for another podcast.
I like to use the U.S. number. You know, I know I know we're Canadian here, but I like
Right.
to use feet. It's a much bigger number.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
600,000 square meters. Okay,
Yeah, let's go. Like,
stick to my
20 square meters. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
The one thing that was in common was always wanting to help my direct reports get better at leading their teams. And so when I decided to stop working for the government, and I knew, well, I thought my why was to help other managers, you know, put their people first. And then as I'm now, you know, 3 years into my entrepreneurial journey, and I started to discover that was my what, like that's the content of what I want to do. But my real why was to be an entrepreneur. You know, you go to Simon Sinek's, you know, it starts with why, and you think, you know, I thought I had done that exercise to kind of launch my entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a long time to own the word entrepreneur. Like I had a hobby for the first year,
Okay.
you know,
yeah,
then
yeah.
I had a job, you know, and I think it really is only this year that I've embraced that, like, I want to build a business, because I really discovered that I was an entrepreneur like early on in my, you know, in my childhood. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was 8 years old, you know, dragging my little red wagon with pop and chips and chocolate bars down a rural highway in Nova Scotia, you know, because I saw there was a cattle auction going on, and there was
summer.
the middle of summer.
Yeah.
There's like, you know, there's an opportunity here,
Right.
and I have a solution. And you know, I had, you know, my dad owned a small corner store, so I had
that's perfect.
access,
You got
you
the
know, it's like,
supply
hey,
right
I had
there.
the supply.
Yeah.
I don't think he tried to teach me cost of goods sold, you know, at that point.
Yeah.
For me, it was all just profit, but you know,
That's good though, learning those little traits like when you're young. And it's interesting. And I guess you just never decided to cultivate that, right? When you were younger, you never
Well,
really thought
you
about
know,
it? Or?
I mean, I always did. Like there were lots of times when I thought about kind of starting my own business, and I always had when I was, starting out my career, thinking about, okay, do this, and always had all kinds of ideas. And I think I was really fortunate in government. Like I essentially had the best of both worlds. I had great bosses that would give me the opportunity to build things. I mean, I led a team like early on in my career. And when I look back, I think like, wow, like these guys trusted me with a lot of things like early on.
Yeah.
Industry Canada and some of the leaders that I had there were like, they were just fantastic. They just gave me, such an opportunity to kind of grow. And I got to build something. I introduced Spectrum Auctions to Canada, back in, 19
What is Spectrum Auctions?
auctioning off the airwaves, right? Like,
Oh, okay.
I was given the opportunity to be our media spokesperson. I used to, we're putting, the power of the internet in the palm of the hands of Canadians. I had all my
Okay.
little taglines, and
Oh, that's cool.
so I got to build things. When I was at the Canada School of Public Service, I was the regional director for the Atlantic, and really got a chance to kind of again be an entrepreneur internal to government. So I apologize to all the other entrepreneurs out there who are slogging it out and have to, cut their teeth with their own money on.
Worrying how the rent's gonna get paid or they're gonna get groceries from. That sounds great. If I could have had something like that where I could be in a comfortable place where I got the paycheck coming in and I could have the flexibility to go ahead and build something and do something as if I was an entrepreneur. It's like that's hard to turn down. I mean, I guess the only thing that you won't have at the end is if you are successful, you can't have the revenue or the rewards. But like that's okay though, because you're building stuff and you're learning how to do things and you're enjoying, life at the same time, right?
And it's given me the chance. I mean, I had the opportunity to, to have a pretty decent work-life balance. I was always, helping with my kids, sports teams, even though I didn't play sports, much myself, I'd learned the sport before I had to kind of help, coach or help them manage their team. So it was, it was pretty amazing, but I mean, I had to, like, I worked at it as well. I mean, and there were
Sure.
certainly, as many, great bosses as I had some challenging ones too. And I had
that's what we
to,
all do,
I earned some battle scars with, people saying no and having to find the way to, convince them that it was the right thing to do for the team and how we had to move forward. So, I got my battle scars, earned them along the way. But now, getting back to your, kind of your question, like now, I mean, I am on a mission now that I've discovered that, okay, I have been saying that I was an entrepreneur trapped in a public servant's body. Okay, now it's time to prove it to yourself. And for me, it's a little bit of, I want to prove it to my kids too. My kids are, they're 20 and 22 and they're starting their careers. And so there's a little bit of this is, I want to, let them know that, look, you can be anything you want to be at whatever age, right? So follow your passion. Pay your dues, like get some experience. But yeah, this opportunity to be an entrepreneur and be your own boss, this is powerful. And I think with all the challenges that we have ahead of us with the economy and with, uncertainty around jobs,
absolutely,
getting some experience, building skills that are going to be in demand, whether you're working for yourself or somebody else, is pretty important.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you said there that were just basically gold. And I'll start with this one is when you said that it doesn't matter what age you are, that, no matter if you're 70, 20 years old, 15, whatever, if you feel that's the right time to start something, go ahead and start something. And don't let any kind of imposter syndrome or any fears of, oh, well, I'm too old now, I can't do this. Go right ahead. Like for me, I'm 45 years old and my goal is to be the #1 podcaster in Canada. Some days I'm like, okay, well, who are you? And then like, you're too old. You can't do this. Why are you on YouTube and stuff? Like, this is ridiculous.
You're young,
well,
man.
Sorry,
old, you're young. No.
Yeah. But you I guess you have those almost mental blocks or what have you. And just hearing what you're saying is just very inspirational and motivational to be like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. You're at a specific stage in your life. You want to do something. It matches with your why. It matches with your heart and your purpose. Go for it.
Absolutely. Right. Like, I think, it's interesting. I recently started working with an EOS integrator, and she's amazing. So she's helping me. So
sorry, NOES?
EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. So if you haven't kind of run across this yet, check
I
it out.
probably will. Yeah.
It's
EOS. I gotta write it down.
yeah. So the entrepreneurial operating system. So she's an integrator and in the system. So I'm a visionary. I have more ideas than what I can possibly implement. And so it's really for me, it's amazing to have somebody that's kind of grounding me and introducing me to a language that I would I just kind of wing it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
this process, we'll get into kind of my personality preference, a little later on in terms of, what that says about me. But the just this idea about having a big, hairy, audacious goal. And what I find interesting is like that's Jim Collins' Good to Great. Like goes back like to when I was reading and listening to professional development, audio tapes.
Yeah.
Like that's how old I am. Um, and but yeah, like setting a big goal and giving yourself an unreasonable deadline to achieve it. That's pretty powerful, right? Like
Okay.
our
Yeah.
what's the expression? I'm gonna quote somebody else here, Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. I think it's our ears hear and our eyes see what our brain is looking for. And
Okay.
so so
I
setting
like
some
that.
of those big goals, like focusing on the future. Let's just it starts with us as individuals, right? It does start with managing ourselves and that mindset and
Yeah.
and only once we have that self-awareness can we kind of move to adapting and connecting better with our team and then bringing that to an organization. So
Do you feel that your experience that you've had is giving you a little bit of an advantage now that you're starting your entrepreneurship journey a little bit later on in life?
oh heck yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think first off, I don't plan on being all things to all people, right? Like I think that's um I think I'm a lot more ready to kind of leave my ego at the door and just it's like, okay, I don't need to be important. Like I feel like I achieved something in my career. I was the head of corporate real estate with the second largest user of office space in the government of Canada.
Yeah.
I managed $250 million budget. I had all this office space. We were doing some really cool stuff. Okay, so I achieved like that's like
You've done it.
I was
Yeah.
important. Okay, maybe not to a lot of other people, but or didn't
To
achieve
you
what others.
anyways,
But to me,
right?
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But now I want to help others. Be important. I want to do something important. I don't want to be significant. I want to do something significant. And I've recruited a team of others that are like minded who. I now have like 15 people with PeopleFirst that are all independent consultants and facilitators and people development professionals that share this mindset of like let's just do something great. And so for me,
I love it.
I don't plan on being all things to all people. So I want to partner. I want to own awareness. Like that's our piece of the puzzle. It's really awareness that starts with the insights discovery system. It's about helping people again just understand how they show up, like what comes most easily to them, and then appreciating and valuing, realizing there's no good or bad, right or wrong in our personality preferences, and then realizing that the power comes from adapting and connecting with our colleagues, showing up the way that they need us to show up, and then creating that as a shared language across the
Yeah.
organization. So I think I've learned a few things, and I've gotten to kick the tires of a lot of systems out there just that purport to help teams and team effectiveness. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
I've had a few people talking about leadership and people talk about communication or building good teams or whatever. But when you hear leadership, what does that mean to you?
I started out defining leadership as R&R, not rest and relaxation, but relationships and results.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I never, apologize. Like I always wanted to push the envelope and be the biggest and be the best and do something no one else had done. So results were key. And that's why we exist as organizations. We exist to deliver,
You got to do
a
stuff.
certain
Yeah.
quality of results in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of resources. That's why organizations exist. But how you deliver those results matter. And so the relationship piece is really critical. And what I've expanded that to also realize that, the next place I went was, a shared purpose, right? You needed to have like that clarity of purpose. You need to have a vision. You need it to, people don't burn out from too much work. They burn out from work that has no meaning. So you've got to help people connect back to a bigger mission. They want to know that they're doing something bigger than just enriching, shareholders' pocketbooks. So you've got to have that mission and that vision. And the area that comes, a little less naturally to me. And again, I'm going to, bring this back to my personality preference is, just this like centered leadership being around like processes and systems. Like you do need to, to take that into account. And that's the area where, I get tripped up all the time. That's why I've hired someone who is my psychological opposite and is, as my integrator, so that I can get, I can still have that balanced approach to leadership without having to necessarily be, solid in remembering, oh yeah, I need to do some more planning. I need to, we need to have I can't just, go off and, make this happen. We need to put together some milestones. We need to have a process to follow and be a little bit more formal. So for me, I guess that's leadership. So to summarize, it's, it's relationships and results, and it's, centered leadership, and it's vision.
You said something here that is really important here about that people need to feel like they're doing more than just making their stockholders or enriching their shareholders or what have you.
Yeah.
Could that be one of the major things that people get wrong in an organization, is that they don't provide those relationships, or they don't provide that meaning to their employees to actually want to come to work and do great stuff to get those results?
I think so. I think that, again, we need to understand like our people, right? We need to understand, what motivates them, like where, what really interests them, and make sure that there's alignment with kind of their values and what it is that we want to deliver. But we need to get clear on what it is we want to deliver first, right? We need to have that compelling, mission and vision. And I think that is the role of leaders to bring that clarity. In one of my talks, I talk about, I do a lot of work with hybrid teams that are working in a hybrid format. And I say, we don't want, people want meaning over mandates. Like, don't just impose a return to work mandate. People want meaning. Help them connect with the bigger picture, and what that purpose is for what the organization is doing. So yeah, I do think a lot of leaders get that wrong. They assume that everybody is clear, that everyone has the context, but they're likely delivering that context in the way that, they understand it. And they're not starting with kind of that catalyst of the self-awareness of, wait a minute, not everybody is like me. Not everyone sees things the same as I do. Everyone has their own, kind of perceptions of the reality. And so I need to get beyond that. I need to, present this in a way that connects with this person, so that they can see that this organization is the one for them, or they can self-select themselves out and go, you know what? I'm not motivated by, whatever, delivering on this, SaaS product that's not who I am. I want to work in a nonprofit, or I want to know that I'm contributing to, to something that is, enriching people's lives. Right.
Right.
So, until you can figure out what it is, and you really get to know your people, you're probably not going to get that right.
I have a little bit of a selfish question here. So I'm probably within the next few months going to be looking at bringing on my first employee here to work with me. And I think the thing that I'm looking for the most is having someone that is going to be aligned with my vision and the goals that I want to have. So with what you were just saying there, is something that I should be doing when I'm trying to find that person is to just say like, hey, listen, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Do you think like this would be something that would be worthwhile, or something that you would like to be on board with to come on? Like, does it match your vision of what you want to do? And then would that maybe help me find the right person in my job? It might be a difficult question to answer, but yeah, I just want to see if you can maybe give me maybe a little bit of direction here.
I think you can create like the compelling, vision and mission, and have the right person buy into that mission. I wouldn't
Mm,
start with, do you align with my mission? Because you want somebody that's going to deliver results, right? So you got
oh,
to,
that's true, right?
so I mean, I
Okay.
think, once you get to, once you've assessed the right candidate and you figured out, what is the right role and what is it that they're going to do to help you achieve, your vision,
Right. I
certainly
see.
in determining the right fit, then get into those conversations. But I think as a leader, I think, like, people, they're not gonna know your mission and vision, right from the beginning. I think that's
Okay,
something
that
that,
makes sense.
hire somebody for the right skills, for the right, potential, the right attitude. You're gonna know from assessing kind of
Right.
their values, whether they align with your values and what it is you want to achieve. And that's
Okay.
like, I would start there. But you want to talk to someone, with more recruitment experience around
Right. For
that,
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but I appreciate that from that angle though too, because I think for me is I have this tendency, I think, to overthink things way, way too much. So I kind of try to approach things from different angles, and then maybe I just get myself worked up a little bit too much of just yeah. I think what you said there was just makes perfect sense. Look at their skills, look at what they could bring to the table. How are they going to help you bring results to what you're trying to do, and then just go from there. And I think that's that's enough, at least for now, anyways, at the stage that I'm in.
Yeah.
About communication and leadership. So I hear people talk about communication. I hear them talk about trust, and these words often come up when people talk about leadership. For you, what would you say is the best way that people can start building trust and that kind of stuff within their own teams?
I'm gonna use another quote, from for this one from Carl Jung. And he dates back to, his personality types that he did in like 1921. And it's like this
Okay.
quote that, all personal and professional development has really started with an increase in self-awareness. And so I think I keep coming back to that. I think that, we need to understand ourselves first, and then we need to understand others. And so I think for building trust, it's about getting to know your colleagues. I think, this just understanding, being able to connect as humans, using a simple, activity. I've gotten so much leverage out of, uh, not an icebreaker, because everybody hates icebreakers, but I do have a connection before content, little pitch I
Sure.
do
Okay.
before,
Yeah.
I do before my meetings. And it was just, having, new members of our team, share a little bit about themselves, kind of a fun fact, what's the most interesting or the most boring thing about you, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and that, that humanizes us as individuals. And the simple fact that, like, the research actually backs this up, that if we know a little bit more about our colleagues as individuals, then we're going to be, more ready to, share our half-baked idea with them before it's, fully cooked, so
Hmm.
that we can, get results done, deliver results more effectively. So I think creating kind of whatever you can do to kind of create a user guide to me, right? If you want to start to build trust on a team, start using something to start that sharing of information about, here's how I show up, here's what's important to me. Investing in, the time to develop the team charters around how we're going to work together, more effectively.
Does that tie into what people talk about in the leadership space, emotional intelligence? It's like being able to understand who you are and having that awareness, and then also being able to have that awareness of other people. Is that kind of the same thing, or is that something a little bit different?
No, I mean, emotional intelligence has a number of elements to it. And I know that, some people don't like the word emotional intelligence. And so, like, think about it as just emotional fitness, if that's easier. Paul Zach
Mm,
uses that term, and I like that. It just, it's, and it recognizes that it's not a one and done. It's something we need to keep working at. We need to establish habits around it. One of the
okay.
keys of emotional intelligence, emotional fitness, is really, it is still about, self-awareness. And then it's about, our relationships with others. So it is, that's where I know I'm a broken record, but I think that,
No, I need to hear it again because
everything comes back to, self-awareness, right? It starts with us. It starts with, realizing what, how we show up, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are
yeah.
some things that we might be overlooking. And then we can move to, again, either surrounding ourselves with people that shore us up in those areas that we're not so
That we know we're
strong at,
lacking. Yeah.
right? Or, developing, skills and getting better at those things, even though they may not come naturally to us.
People first. I got this online here where it says, a kind of quote here, put your people first and the results will follow. And you've been saying that pretty much kind of here today. So can you maybe just, I think you've kind of already done this, but can you maybe explain what that looks like in practice in like the real world environment in an organization? Like you're putting people first and then hey, check out these results that happen.
I'll tackle this from kind of three levels. I think it's the individual, the team, and the organization. And so
Okay.
for putting your people first, it is about, getting to know, your colleagues. It's about, first off, put your people first and they're going to deliver the results. That's where they're going to take care of the customers. They're going to take care of your files. They're going to take care of your projects. So, as a leader, again, it's about delivering results through others. It's about, understanding that it's your people that have, that's where the innovation is. They know they're closer to the customer and the problem than you are. And so you need to, empower them. You need to give them the tools. And then at the team level, it's about, having individuals understand, okay, wait a minute, not everyone is like me. How can I work more effectively with this person? How do I need to adapt my style? Going back to, the platinum rule, it's about, treating others the way they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. And so that at a team level, figuring out like how do we work together across across our individual contributions, and then at an organizational level, creating systems and processes and culture where that becomes the norm, that this is just how we operate, right? This is our shared language. We have a language of respect. We appreciate that we need all of these different perspectives on our team, and that there's no one that's better than another. And how do we leverage that to achieve the organization's results?
I mean, I'm just listening to you here and I'm just thinking, I wish I could have had you as a boss in working because I would love to see what that looks like in an environment. Because I just feel as if it would be this environment where, again, I guess maybe me, I'm more of the entrepreneurial guy where I feel like I would have agency over the work that I can do. And I could like, oh, I'm talking to this customer and they see this problem. And I could just go out and solve it, not have to ask 20 different people, can I do this? Can I not do that? Because I've always had to do that in my job and I've always hated that. So I don't know. I'm just getting really excited. So it's starting to click for me. So thank you for sharing all this. I really, really do appreciate it. And let's talk about insights discovery. Can you, because you've been talking about this, can you explain that? You have some wonderful things here. But yeah, I'll leave it to you. Let's go over it.
As a leader in the federal public service, I was very fortunate. We were able to invest in training and learning. I had a supervisory training course when I first became a supervisor. I had a manager, training course when I became a manager. When I first became an executive, I had my induction to the ranks of the executives in the public service. And so I've had a chance to kick the tires of just about every system that's out there. And so a lot of people may have heard of Myers-Briggs or DISC. And so people are often ask me, is Insights like, Myers-Briggs or DISC? These are personality assessment systems that help people understand, how they show up, and gives them, a language. And sometimes I say, yes, Insights is like DISC and Myers-Briggs in the way that Muhammad Ali is like a high school boxer.
Okay. Yeah.
If I want to be a little kinder, I could say, I think it's maybe it's DISC and Myers-Briggs is like kind of seeing the world in black and white, and Insights is more like a 4K
Right.
vivid color, right?
Okay. So much more involved and in
Well,
depth.
it's not just a profile; it's a program. And so the framework that I've been kind of talking about for leadership, like that's painted in the 4 Insights color energies. I have a Give an F to make hybrid working workshop, and it's painted in the 4 Insights color energies. And so what they are is it's it's fiery red. It's results driven. It's about getting stuff done. It's the summary on our, the block is be bright, be brief, be gone. That's fiery red. It's about, a results focus. You want to get stuff done. You want to have, key measures and make sure you're contributing. It's sunshine yellow. These are both extroverted energies. Fiery red and sunshine yellow are extroverted energies.
Okay. Sunshine
yellow is about, you want to be involved. It's involve me. It's enthusiasm. It's persuasion. It's ideas. That's sunshine yellow. Earth green is about results, or sorry, is about relationships, not results.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the opposite of it's about relationships. It's like, show me you care. It's caring. People that lead with Earth green are great listeners, and cool blue is a detail focus. It's about, give me the details. It's about process, and it's about measurement. And so when we look at it as, our personality preferences, we can see, the sunshine yellow and fiery red are both extroverted energies. Cool blue and earth green are both introverted energies. And, there's no right or wrong, good or bad. And it's about, recognizing that we need, like, really all four of those to be, solving problems, to be, to be working in a team. And so, so I'm of all the systems that I've seen, Insights it's complex in the sense that the profile that people get when they complete our evaluator is very detailed. It's specific to them. It's drawn from, thousands of different statements in our databases, but it's simple. Like, people can remember it. It's sticky. And that's where the power comes. It's
like they remember I'm the green guy or whatever.
Yeah, like, I lead, and we try to, create the most respectful interpretation. You're not a green guy. You're not a green guy.
Okay, yeah.
You lead with green. You have easier access to green, to earth green energy. That's what comes most easily to you. And the other thing, I'll get you to do this, but we don't bang our mics, right? Like, this is it's a preference, right? You have a preference, like cross your arms. You have a preference for how you cross your arms.
Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm closed off or combative or
no. But I mean, but now I want you to uncross your arms and cross them differently. Cross them differently.
Yeah.
You had to think about it.
Yeah.
Right? You had to put in a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
And if I leave, if you, so you have a preference for how you cross your arms. Your personality preferences are the same, right? You have a preference, for how you show up. So you might.
So it doesn't matter if it's this or whatever.
Yeah. And if I left you here long enough, you might slip back into being comfortable,
to the default.
But what what this is all about is that if we realize, like, so much of our communication is subconscious, right? And if we can just interrupt that subconscious, get off of autopilot, and then, for me, realizing that I lead with sunshine yellow and fiery red, okay, both extroverted energies, that can be a lot for someone that leads with earth green and cool blue. And when I realize that, and realize, okay, for me to allow, this person to bring their best selves to the job, I need to adapt my style. I need to dial down, what comes naturally to me, because I have the ability to do it.
So is this what you're saying sorry to interrupt there, when you're saying that you want to, what is the platinum rule, right? Where you want to treat people as they want to be treated. It's being able to have these insights give you an understanding for how they do want to be treated, right? Is that kind of
exactly right? And so now all of a sudden I have a user guide, to my colleague, and I can understand, okay, like, Odum's not being quiet because he's being difficult, or he's not asking me a bunch of questions because he's trying to, throw, spokes in my idea. It's because he leads with cool blue energy. He needs to have all those details in order to feel comfortable and have the perspective on how we need to move forward on this problem. Or
I might need time to think about it or something like that.
Exactly. So there's a lot of, I don't know, I think myths out there that leaders need to be, either more extroverted, right? I think there's our society seems to place a greater emphasis on extroversion. And that's BS. Like, I think that, there are fantastic leaders that again, it's a preference. It's not a competency, right? So you can show up, you can deliver like a fantastic presentation. It might appear like you're extroverted, but that you just gave your all to kind of show up that way.
Right. Do you mean
And-
kind of almost like the Steve Jobs of the world, where they're always like really high energy, they're high out there, maybe not the nicest person to their staff or whatever. Like there's too much emphasis, you think, on that, and not understanding that there's different types of leaders that you can lead in different ways. You don't have to be the jackass or whatever, right?
Yeah. You should never be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good quote from I think SpongeBob. Don't be a jerk.
Oh, don't be a jerk. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best business books that I read, like as a leader, is this book by Susan Cain, and it's called Quiet, and it's the
Just
power.
quiet.
It's called Quiet. The power. I think the subtitle is The Power of Introversion in a World That Won't Stop Talking.
Oh, that's a great subtitle. Wow.
And,
I want to read it
yeah.
already.
Yeah. I sometimes drop in an F-bomb, in a world that won't shut the bleep up, but,
Right.
but and as someone that leads with extroversion, that was powerful for me to realize that I needed to show up differently for a lot of members of my team that led with introversion. Like they didn't see the world the same way I did. And so, I remember, I had this one like star contributor on my team who I found out led with, later on kind of learned that she led with, cool blue and earth green, my psychological opposites
Your opposite,
of,
right.
fiery sunshine yellow and fiery red. And I'd be running an all staff meeting, running a brainstorming session. I'd say, oh, hey, Kim, what do you think? Like the worst thing that I could do, right? Or worse yet, I'd say, wow, you're being really quiet, Kim. What's going on?
What's wrong with you?
Like,
Yeah,
what's
it's
wrong?
terrible.
Like, come on,
Right.
I need, and
She's not like you. Yeah.
she wasn't like me. And so when I realized that, then I started to adapt my, the way that I would run my meetings. And I would probably still do a bit of brainstorming to kind of be respectful of others' preferences, the other extroverts in the room that needed to think out loud.
Yeah.
But then I would say, I'm not going to take a decision on this right away. Let's let this, sit. If others have other ideas that you want to contribute and you want to get back to me, send me an email kind of by the end of the day. And then lo and behold, at 4:27, I would get this email that I just wish that I had the ability to articulate in that way. It was so thoughtful. It was so composed. It was exactly like took into account everyone's perspectives in the room.
Yeah.
And it was just like, like there it is. Like, okay, there's, but if I didn't adapt and connect, if I wasn't aware of kind of my own preferences and realizing, okay, I might have a tendency to overuse those, then I wouldn't have had that aha moment, right? I wouldn't have done things differently.
Or you would have made a decision right after that meeting, not got that wonderful feedback or input, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're only getting information based on people that are kind of like you or whatever. So you're missing out on a whole different range of thoughts and perspectives that, because like you said, we kind of see what we see, right? And we don't have those perspectives, and it's important to have all those perspectives, I think, when making decisions.
Yeah. And so again, I think what I like about Insights is that it is a system, right? So if I, as someone who leads with sunshine yellow and fiery red, right? So if I only have like ideas and results, well, I'm forgetting about the people, and I've got no plan on how I'm going to get there.
Right. Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, or as a leader, you need to realize that it is like there is a system and a framework, and I've tested, like I love leadership. I love, business. Like I take business books on vacation. Like I've put, really any kind of framework, through the Insight system. I mean, I see life in color now. Like,
right. Yeah.
I've developed
I've opened my eyes.
I developed my organization, like for PeopleFirst. Like, I'm working on, finalizing like our values, and they are, they are painted in the 4 color energies, right? So they're making sure that I've got, a catalyst, like I've got some results. I've got, curiosity, I've got connection. And so
is this something that, like, how easy is it for somebody to get insights from themselves? Like, do they take like a test, or is it just like a questionnaire? Like, how do you get from an employee or wannabe leader, somebody who's looking to be leadership, to get those results?
Well, I mean, the short answer is, come see us, so,
I want
to, but, honestly, like start with anything, right? Like anything is better than nothing. I mean, if all your listeners get out of this is, they go and use, I have a free personality quiz that's painted in the Insights Color Energy on, on our PeopleFirst website. I've got, they can Google, I think there's like 16 personalities that gives them like a little report and stuff too. Whatever they can do to just start that thinking, right? Like it just starts with wanting to have that spark of self-awareness about, okay, well, what comes most easily, to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so the process like through us would be, we mostly, we don't just sell the profiles. Like we want to make sure that people are, that it's positioned properly, because the worst thing that you could have happen, and I have seen this with some other systems, is it just gives people a new language with which to weaponize,
Right.
their, why they don't get along with their colleagues. So it's not about that. It's
Yeah.
it's about
Us blues
appreciation.
and greens, or we stay
Oh,
away from
we
the
hate
the
those
reds.
reds and
Yeah.
yellows,
Yeah.
And no, it's about, it's about building that appreciation. So we always make sure that anytime that we sell a profile, it's always done in the context of a debrief with, building up, that the foundation of like how we communicate, that so much of our communication is, subconscious, that we all have different perceptions. And
Yeah. Well, it's like having raw data. And if you just give someone raw data without the understanding of how to actually interpret that data and then take action on it, then it's kind of useless. So yeah, it seems like it would have to be put in with a system of like, hey, here's this information I have, but teach me how to employ it in a way that's going to get me the results that I want. Show me how I could use this to better the relationships that I have in my organization and the better relationships I have with my staff, employees, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes perfect sense to me. When I took that online quiz,
Okay.
and it was very interesting. I had like, what did I get? I was basically tied in the blue and the red.
Okay.
And I had maybe like one or two yellow and green. So what does that mean? What does that mean for me?
So blue and red are both thinking preferences. So the way the system is built is it's built on our preferences for introversion, extroversion, thinking, feeling, and sensing and intuition. And so the quiz that I gave just really focuses on, the first, those first four.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. So cool blue and fiery red are both thinking preferences. So you're very, very cerebral. It's very cool blue would be like that detailed focus. Now the quiz only gives you like a subset of like the possible adjectives. So this may not necessarily be that accurate. And once you've done your detailed profile, with our detailed profile, you complete a 25 frame evaluator of, forced choice. And you've got to make some decisions about most like me, least like me.
Okay. Yeah.
But it starts to give you that introduction to your preferences. So, I'm not surprised that cool blue is one of your leads when you said, you like to analyze things to death and kind of that paralysis,
right.
And so
it's all making sense now.
but yet you want to get stuff done, right? You want to kind of go like, let's move, let's set some pretty ambitious targets, like maybe being, the number one podcast host in Canada,
absolutely.
So you said, you're competitive, you got that fiery red streak. The sunshine yellow, so that's more, kind of the outgoing, that's an extroverted energy again, kind of that, ideas and creativity. And then earth green is about, that's kind of about the people. And it's not that, that you don't, like, you have access to all four, right? That's the other important thing, right? Like we all have access to all four. We can dial them up. But it's just that awareness of when we're not trying, right? When we're not trying to kind of show up, and this is what comes most easily to us.
And I guess that's a good point too, is that if somebody's going into these insights and they get that, oh, I'm cool blue, to not just use that to position yourself in this pigeonhole of like, oh, that means I can't have any more compassionate tones, or I can't have any more ambition or whatever, right? So it's just kind of like you said, it's just kind of something that gives you that self-awareness of maybe the things that you kind of tend to do, but again, doesn't exclude you from having all these other attributes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and a good example, like the difference between a competency and a preference. When I was at the Canada School, I met one of my new employees for the first time at an all staff meeting, and she was facilitating one of the agenda items in the afternoon. And I would have sworn that she led with, actually, she was an extreme extrovert. Like she had us like up and moving around and high energy, and we were just like, laughing and learning. And it was like, I would have swore that she was like off the charts in terms of a preference for extroversion.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew at the end of the session, when someone came up to her and said, Guylaine, or Guylaine said, I'm going for a walk. And one of her colleagues said, Guylaine, can I come with you? And she said, sure, as long as you walk 10 steps behind me.
Oh,
Because she knew that she didn't get her energy. She needed to recharge now, right? She knew that like introversion, extroversion is just, where do we get our energy from? Like people with an extroverted energy get their energy from the external environment. They get charged up by, large events and conferences and meeting new people and doing new things.
Right.
Someone that leads with introversion, they can do that. They can show up, they can network, they can, go, but that's not their comfort level.
Right.
And so they need that time to recharge. And so again, knowing that about yourself and being able to go, okay, this is what I need. And she knew that, Earl, leading with extroverted energy, had some crazy, social activity plan for the evening. She was going to need to kind of dial it up again. That she needed that recharge time. Yeah. So you can join me for a walk, but just stay back and don't talk to me. Stay 10 steps behind me.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's a really interesting point in terms about knowing how people are and knowing how to interact with them. So when people go through this system, does it help? Like, do you notice that it helps people or employees get along with each other? For like, just as an example, I could just see in certain work environments where people have different personalities and they can clash. Yeah. Like, does this system help people deal with those types of things that happen in the workplace? Rick and Bob, whatever, they hate each other, right? They're at each other's throats. Is it more of a misunderstanding of who they are?
It starts to provide that objective language and that shared language that we can use around our differences, right? So that is kind of the next step. Like once we know something about ourselves and then we know something about our colleagues, then we can start using that to kind of better adapt and connect and realize, okay, wait a minute, Odum's not being this way because, he's trying to be difficult. It's that he has okay, that's his cool blue coming out, right? And we'll see that like in organizations where this becomes the shared language, like people keep these blocks on their desk and to remind themselves of what they, what comes most easily to them, but also to realize, when they're meeting with a new colleague, okay, wait a second, that person leads with cool blue. We've got this little, our little mouse pad of, like think before you click. And it's got little reminders on there, like little reminders on there about, who the sender is, right? So, so if I'm sending this message, okay, they lead with this color energy. Maybe I need to be, right? A lot of people, use this. They realize, okay, wait a second, the boss leads with fiery red. I better be bright, be brief, be gone, right? Like do not waffle. Let's get right to the point and get stuff done.
Yeah.
I had another example. There was a lady that, had led with kind of earth green. She wanted to kind of, but she knew that her boss, led with cool blue, and he would just kind of come into his office and he would just go directly into his office. And she always had her back to him. And so she kind of knew when he came in, but he never would kind of say hello to her. And, and so because she knew they had done their insights profile, and she just used the fact that they had their profile done on a bilat, or a check-in. And he was, was saying like, how are things going? Like you're doing great. And, is there anything, that we can do differently? And she's like, yeah, like I kind of have I lead with, kind of earth green and sunshine yellow. I kind of like to know that I'm part of a bigger team. And I'm just wondering, I know you lead with, cool blue and fiery red, and you just want to, kind of come in. Could you just maybe like just say hello to me in the morning? I promise I won't like take it into a big conversation. I won't go down a rabbit hole. I just want to know that you know that I'm here. And,
exactly.
So
exactly.
So that's really where the power comes. It's not about, just individuals, doing this on their own and knowing about them. I mean, that helps them in their careers and, but It's really when a team uses this and it becomes that shared language, and you can point to it, for those differences, in communication. So
Those little differences, I mean, they add up to a lot, I would imagine, right? Like, cause it's just the little things on a day-to-day basis that just, it builds morale, block by block in a sense, right? And
yeah.
then all of a sudden, over time, you're achieving as an organization together something way better than you were before.
I mean, I was first introduced to the Insight system in 2009. I changed jobs, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, after that before I, ended my career. But I always took the system with me. So every new team that I would go to, I would one of, within the first week, I would have everyone go through the Insight system. So all of a sudden, not only did they know what came most easily to me, and then it gave them a vehicle to have that objective language. Like how many people, like, a week on the job are going to say to their boss, "Ooh, that's a lot of, that's a lot of sunshine yellow energy, Earl." Like,
Right,
like
yeah,
dial
yeah.
it down, right?
Uh-huh.
But I mean, if you can create kind of that respect and that appreciation, and you can start to learn that information about, about others, and you set some values and expectations around,
Mhm.
okay, like when I am showing up with too much sunshine yellow or fiery red, just let me know. I created a, little agreement with my employees. I mean, we didn't get there overnight, right? Like
Right.
it was built up over time, but um, we'd be having like a bilateral, it'd be an all staff meeting, and I'd just be going like firing, 1,000 ideas out there. And at the end of the conversation, I remember, like, Annie would go, "Is that a suggestion or direction?"
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Like, cause it was like, and I never realized, like, it's
Mm.
like, okay, wait a second. No, I'm just thinking out loud. I haven't figured, like, I haven't fully fleshed this idea out.
Mhm.
I'm just having fun with the idea and playing with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
and so you
Interesting.
need to
Yeah.
have these people, again, until you can kind of have that culture of this, shared communication. You're not going to get through every team goes through, the development from, storming, norming to performing, right?
Yeah.
And so the faster you can get to the performing phase, the better, because so organizations exist to deliver results. And so if you can have something that creates that understanding, and it also, Indeed, the big job board,
Yep.
they use the Insight system, and there was a case study that was done on their return on investment of using
Okay.
the system internally, simply as a result of reduced turnover, because now people were not leaving the organization because of a misunderstanding or a conflict with their
Mhm.
colleague or with their boss. They The ROI is just ridiculous. Like, I'm almost embarrassed to, share. It was 2,063% ROI
That's insane.
that
That is
Indeed had
insane.
found. And most of that was as a result of reduced turnover, because now employees no longer had an intent to leave, because they had this common understanding. They could understand why their colleague was acting the way they did. They had a tool and a vehicle to enter into that, kind of that objective standard of going, okay,
Just having an environment that you feel like seen, that you feel heard, that you enjoy coming into, that you get along with people. Like, who wants to go? Nobody wants to go to work or like, oh, I got to deal with my boss. I don't like this person, or this person's just always mean to me or whatever. Like,
yeah,
that's a terrible environment to be in.
that's all we want, right? We
Yeah,
we just want to be
exactly. Yeah.
seen, heard, and understood, right? Like, that's why, Oprah was so successful, throughout her
Mm,
career, right? That's what she did, right?
yeah,
Like, she allowed people to be seen, heard, and
absolutely.
understood. And our organization should be offering that to us as
Yeah.
well.
So when people come work with you at People First and they do these insights, then is that the type of, I mean, I guarantee 2000% return, but I mean, that's probably what you're trying to show people, that when they come work with you, that their team is going to, like, over time, show a better, like, at the end of the day, have better results and have a better cohesive work unit. And everyone's just like, yeah, just create a better environment for your staff and for your people,
Yeah.
so that at the end of the day, that's when the results will just, that it'll take care of itself in a sense, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put put your people first and the
Yeah.
results will follow.
Can I ask you specifically? I don't know if
Yeah.
you know the answer to this, but what type of results were you seeing specifically when you were bringing it? Because you said, "Well, I went to 4 or 5 different jobs. I
Yeah.
took insights with me." What kind of results would you see in your teams?
I mean, we weren't well, and I wasn't great at, measuring, like concretely, right? Like
Sure.
I wasn't
Yeah.
doing
Okay.
like
Fair enough.
surveys. And
Hmm.
but for me, again, it was just about like the cohesion that we were able to
Yeah.
create so much more quickly. I had another client of mine, he was a former VP of Unilever, became, the head of Suave brand companies. And,
Okay.
and so, I was brought in to run a session with his C-suite as they were coming together. Like that's like, so they could get through that process so much more quickly. Right.
Mhm.
And then that is going to pay you dividends long term. You think about how much time we waste in, okay, well, I can't quite say this, or I'm not sure where I stand with this person. Like if you've got a shared language where you can kind of bring up those differences. And I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, there are some people out there that are just real jerks, and there's no
Yeah.
no personality assessment that's gonna help you
Yeah.
deal with them.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
that's when you weed them out kind of early on, hopefully. But the more just that speed of trust, right? The faster you can get the team working, collaborative together. You can increase, the connection. You're being intentional about, how you're leading a team. That's what delivers results. So mine be all kind of anecdotal, but those, for me, that was the only way I knew how to lead, right? That was,
Mm.
that's just what I did,
Right.
right? And so, but I have like my direct reports that I've, led throughout my career. I mean, I'm still connected with them. Like there's still, if I go into their cities, I have coffee with them. We're still connected, right? So,
Yeah.
to me, that wouldn't have just happened if I was, just being kind of their boss.
If
If
it
I
was
didn't
just a
create,
job,
I didn't
right?
create that environment where they were able to bring their best selves to that job.
I think this is an important thing where people just feel safe in their environment to be able to be themselves, to be able to talk to you directly,
Yeah.
to be able to speak their mind, and to be able to give their inputs into what they think might be good for the company or the organization. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
feeling
Like,
seen, feeling
yeah, I mean,
heard.
it creates that psychological safety that, people start to feel like they can, yeah, it's okay if I make mistakes.
Yeah. What can you say, or what advice could you give to leaders or people that want to be leaders, how they can help their employees grow as people, within the organization?
It starts with, giving an F, so it goes back to that, like, I
So
think you have to
can
care.
you explain that? I think you said it before, like give like 4 Fs or give an
Oh,
F, but it doesn't stand for
yeah, yeah.
the
The F,
actual
the
F
F
or
is not what you
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, the first F kind of is. So it's like,
Okay.
give an F. You do need to
Okay.
care, right? You need to
Right.
you need to care about the development of your people. Yeah. The other, so I do say, give an F to make hybrid work. But it really,
Okay.
it's give an F to make work, and it's painted in my insights, color, energy. So it's about focus on, shared accountability and shared purpose, right? So fiery red, results driven.
Mm.
It's about flexibility within a framework. It's collaboration and agility. It's foundation. It's the foundation of so earth green, trust, and cohesion. And it's frameworks. It's about measurement and process, that cool blue that I talked about.
Hmm.
And so that, again, it's a system to help us, frame how we're leading, about how well our team is working together. And so we take, teams on this journey from, individual kind of self-awareness to, how is the team performing, based on that framework. And then, leadership, again, are they results, focused, relationship focused? Are you have a visionary leadership, and do you have that centered leadership? And so I don't think I really answered your question.
Yeah.
I sort of went down and
Yeah, yeah.
never,
Right.
never.
Well, it's almost saying as if because not everyone's going to be able to get the whole insight system right off the bat. But if they're trying to figure out how they can make an environment where their employees feel like they can grow as, their skills
Yeah.
or what have you, like how can a leader try to cultivate that environment within their organization?
So yeah, now I realize where I went off on a tangent. So it
I
starts
did
with caring.
interrupt you with asking about the give an F. But
Yeah, I mean, it starts with caring, right? Like I think you have to care about the development of your people, right? I think that's where it starts with, and I think you have to realize that, we want to, like, the ability to learn is probably our most important skill, right? Like once we learn how to learn,
right.
we can kind of tackle anything. And we know with all the challenges that are coming with, with AI, and that we really do need to, learn how to learn, and develop those skills. And so I think as a leader, realizing, like, caring about the development of your people as people, and not treating them as as just resources, right? Treating them as human beings, and not as resources. That's where it starts. And then again, understanding what it is that they need as individuals. Like everybody is going to be different, and we're all wired differently. We all want different things. We need to, we want to learn differently. Some
I
people,
was even going to say people learn completely differently as
Yeah.
well too. Got to take that into consideration.
yeah, I mean, and some people, again, if we only think about ourselves, we think, oh, well, everybody is going to want to, be a supervisor someday. It's like, well, no, like not everybody wants to move into, management responsibility or supervisors. They want to be really good at their job. They want to, deliver, have good job satisfaction, knowing they're contributing to something, and master, that skill, and they get charged up, by their activities outside of work, right? They get, their motivation, and they have a, a side hustle that's their passion, right? It's, music, or it's art, or it's Lego, or it's whatever, that they,
Legos,
Lego, yeah, it's whatever they love, right? And so it's about getting to know your people, getting to understand kind of how they tick. It's really making that investment in, who are they, right? And then creating the environment so that they, number one, I mean, they're there to help the organization deliver on results, but then helping them, move on. Like I had I was developing, like you want to hire people, for the next level too, right? You want to help them. I wanted the best people with me for as long as I could keep them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would help them move on when they were ready, right? Like people, I was often, being, criticized for, like, why are you investing in these, like, high, these high performers? I was often bringing in students from this, university development program,
Okay.
and we knew they were on a fast track
Really
to, like,
hungry. Yeah.
ADM level, right? They were going to surpass me in their careers. But for me, it was like, heck yes, like I'm gonna invest in them. I'm gonna help them learn and grow, and they're gonna deliver stellar results for us while they're with us. And yeah, when they're ready to move on, then that's
Yeah.
great, right?
And you could also maybe instill some of your philosophies as well into them too, so that they can bring that out to the world,
Yeah.
and hopefully, as cheesy as it sounds, make the world a better place, right? So
I don't think that's cheesy at all. I've got on my website, I want to change the world.
Well, yeah,
one
no,
leader, one team, one organization at a time.
That's what it is,
yeah,
right?
like,
It's you hear that people say this often, but if I could just, change the mind of one person, I'll feel good about myself, but I feel like I did a good job. And
Yeah.
that's yeah, it's cheesy, but it's true. Yeah, it's not cheesy. It makes sense. So I like that. I love that. You said something really interesting too about AI coming in. There's new different technology and different challenges that are being faced. Do you see AI as a challenge in people's ability to be a leadership? Like, is there any kind of disruption in the industry that you see that might make the job of a leader harder? Or maybe it'll make it easier. I don't know.
I love AI. I think that, the opportunity, I love it and I hate it, I guess, at the same time, because
Yeah.
it's like, I worry about, the jobs that it's changing, especially for young people that are starting their careers. And, as a dad of two,
Right.
young people that are
Yeah.
starting their career journeys, what's that going to change? I mean, I think for me, I still come back to, we need to humanize work in the age of AI. I think that if we focus on, our relationship management skills, that's still key. If you look at the World Economic Forum's report in terms of, skills that are still going to be in demand in 2035,
Mm-hmm.
it's still, it's critical thinking, it's relationship management skills, emotional intelligence, it's
Things that AI are not really, they can't
that
really
AI
replicate
can't really replicate. And
yet.
yet, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think like leaders that are not using AI to help them get better are missing an opportunity, because I think
Mm-hmm.
like AI can be like a good, sounding board, like treat it as kind of a colleague, treat it as as a coach. Like I think
Yeah.
there's lots of, I think one of your previous podcasts, guests is doing some really cool
Yeah.
stuff with
Ange McCabe.
Ange. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that like leverage it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Executive coaching is expensive. It's valuable having that, and there are times when you're going to need that other person. Like AI is not is not there yet. AI is too much of a sycophant as well. It kind of tells us
Right.
what we want to
Well,
hear.
exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, no, you need like someone that can tell you it as it really is.
Push back a little bit.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do need, only people can do that
Yeah.
now. But so yeah, I mean, I would be leaning into AI as a leader. Help me again, increase my, if I know how I show up, then again using it. There's all kinds of tools and integrations
Mm-hmm.
that are coming to aid
Yeah.
in. Yeah, okay, wait a minute, I'm meeting with this person now. How what how should I adapt how I show up, right? Doing some role playing, scenario playing, like developing okay, I'm now having a difficult conversation, like, do a role play with AI
With
of that
AI.
difficult
Yeah.
conversation. Okay, like here's what I'm thinking of saying, what am I missing, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It would make sense that you can use it in a way to help empower your own staff or the people that are under you under team. It's like get them to understand AI and how they could use AI to help them improve their job and not maybe be in a position where they're always worried that AI is going to take their job, but like
yeah.
instead use it as a tool. So how you can, improve your skills and how you can do a better job. And, that'll be a tool that they can use going forward in their career. Because like I said, they're probably going to be in different jobs in different parts of their career, right? So
Yeah.
to always increase those skills and what have you to make them more employable later on.
Yeah, I think my biggest fear around AI and leadership is that leaders are going to be thinking that they no longer need to hire junior people, because that's what AI is kind of good at, is, and I mean, it's getting
Mm-hmm.
better at some higher level stuff too, um but if leaders are not being forward thinking, and they're not realizing, okay, well, wait a second, I still need to hire, more junior people, and teach them how to leverage the AI, help them improve their critical thinking skills, help them get in those reps using, you don't get to a senior position without having put in, the reps, and doing the hard work. And so if they're only focusing on, oh, okay, well, I can use, AI now, I don't need to hire interns, like that's so short-sighted. If you're
Yeah.
not investing in your, your front level staff, you're not going to have that cadre of people who are living your mission and your vision, and are going to be
Mm-hmm.
there and available to you at
Yeah.
those
And
more
grow
senior
with you through the
senior and higher
organization.
higher levels. So I think that's my biggest fear around AI, is just that short-sightedness of, oh, I can have AI do that, I don't need to hire someone now.
That's a really good point because I imagine that's going to be a really hard balance for major corporations or big corporate or public market or whatever, because what's really important to them is the quarterly profits or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like if they're running low, then their stock goes down or whatever. And I think there's more and more pressure on them to deliver those results. And I guess one of the quickest things is to just slash salary, slash all those
Yeah.
that expense. There was a guy, I think it's Rory Sutherland, a great like a marketing guy. I think he was talking about how he was, I don't know if he was consulting for this business or just talking about it. It was a hotel chain, and they had the doorman that would just greet people as they come into the hotel. And then some consultant came in and said, "Oh, well, we can just get rid of that $50,000 a year and just have your automatic doors or whatever." but then all the intangibles of, well, he was the one that would talk to the guests and say like, well, how's your day or whatever. And then he'd be looking around to see if there's any crime or whatever going on in the streets, like all these different intangible things that never equated into that person's, calculation of like, oh, we'll just say $50,000. So, and then of course, then things went downhill or whatever. So I think that is a really big concern, and that people are just going to look at low-level people as just numbers, and they can get rid of it and replace with AI, and we'll just be better. But they're not thinking about, how do people interact in the office? How can we develop people internally? How can we have that collaboration environment that, it's hard to quantify what that ROI is in the bottom line of getting those results.
No, for sure. And what gets measured, and rewarded gets done, right? And so to your point, like unless leadership can say, okay, no, like we want to focus on, developing our people. We want to make sure that we're taking a bigger picture perspective to this, then those short-term rewards are what's going to drive it. And those organizations will pay the price longer term.
Is there anything in the leadership space that people aren't talking about these days?
There's a lot of talk about leadership. I don't know if there's enough talk about leadership development as not being just a one and done, like that it needs to be kind of continual investment, and it's about growth and just applying it. It's about kind of getting your reps in. It's about maybe the other piece is that leadership doesn't necessarily need to come from a book or from a consultant that's coming in. Like I try not to use the word consultant when I refer to myself. I want to talk about being a people development professional. I don't want to borrow your watch to tell you the time. I don't want to I'm not fishing for my next contract, but it could come from your your colleagues, from your network. I think one of the most powerful growth opportunities for me as a leader was being part of, a middle managers network when I was a middle manager, being part of, an executive network when I was an executive, like just knowing that there were others that were going through the same thing as I was at the same time. Like that community was so valuable. And so, I think that might be, an area where there's not enough talk about, hey, you can become a better leader by connecting with others that are just going through the same thing as you. We're all peers, we're colleagues, and we can collectively, we probably know more than most people development professionals, facilitators, or consultants.
Yeah.
And so finding those opportunities to connect with others that are going through the same thing as you are.
Yeah. So that brings me into another question I have about some people that get thrown into the leadership position. Like they never ask for it, but they get thrown into it. And what would you say to those people who say to themselves, well, I'm not a natural leader. Like, I don't think I can do this.
I mean, I would say you weren't born driving a car either, right? You learned how to drive a car. Like leadership it's a skill. It's skills and it's competencies and behaviors, and you can learn them. You need to put in some effort. You need to, it's about getting your reps in. It's about, getting some battle scars along the way, making some mistakes, but being, at your core, like again, being vulnerable, being authentic, caring enough to want to make that investment in becoming a better leader. So again, I don't think there's any particular style or traits of, personality preferences that you need to have to be a good leader. It's just about, okay, what do I need to do? How can I learn those, and making the investment to do it. There's no natural leaders. We all have to learn.
I love that. Always be learning, always be curious, and always be, I guess, not afraid to go out and do things that you're not comfortable with, and seeing where you can grow and where that can take you as an individual.
Yeah.
Earl, thank you so much for the conversation. I learned a lot, and all this leadership stuff is fascinating for me because I'm not used to it. So I'm learning a lot. So thank you very much for sharing everything with me today. Is there anything else that you want to mention here with a last word, maybe where people can find you, find more about yourself? something we didn't mention?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're PeopleFirst. That's our website, peoplefirst.ca. So it's pretty easy to find. I wanted to, I don't think I compared my big, hairy, audacious goal to yours. So,
Yeah,
we're on a mission. So I'm on a mission to be Canada's largest insights discovery distributor. That's my BHAG by 2027. So we're on,
I'm gonna write this down. 2027.
by 2027,
Canada's.
Canada's largest insights discovery distributor. So again, I'm not trying to be all things to all people. I want to own that awareness space with that system and that tool. And I'm looking to partner for other like-minded organizations. One of the pillars of the way I'm building my business, which you might not be surprised, I'm building based on the 4 pillars of the Insights Colorado.
No, makes sense.
One of those pillars is partnering. And so really, looking to partner with like-minded organizations that are serving the same kind of clients, that are those small and medium-sized enterprises that want to have access to a proven system from a top 20 training and learning organization globally that really delivers results while helping them put their people first. We're there, and so look forward to learning more about your journey and seeing your success. And thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. And we'll definitely have to do this again, because 2027. I mean, that's coming up. It's
around the
almost
corner.
2026, and then
What did I say with your big goal? You got to put a crazy deadline on it,
right?
And focuses the mind. So
in 2027. You'll be on the #1 podcast in Canada, where I'll be talking about the #1 distributor of insights in Canada.
I love it.
So
yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Earl, thanks again so much. It was a pleasure. And yeah, thanks again.